Hi, I'm Austin Eartham, and welcome to the Kitchen Table Podcast. We're here to motivate, educate, and relate to you guys, sharing our stories, helping you to get 1% better in all areas of your life. Welcome to this week's episode of the 1440. Remember, 1440, 14 minutes and 40 seconds is 1% of your day. If we can focus on each task at hand for the week, 1% of each day, which is 14 minutes and 40 seconds. By the end of the week, we'll be a couple hours into spending time on trying to get better at one thing, and that will help us be better overall as a human throughout the year. That's kind of why we do these 1440s, to help remind you of the challenges and the topics of the week. All right, so we're supposed to be focusing on faith and trust this week. Right now, for me personally, I have not asked anybody about how to trust, how to gain their trust more, but I have thought a lot about our conversation on Tuesday. So just a reminder, if you haven't listened to Tuesday's episode, go ahead and look at that or listen to that, either one on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Music, podcasts, for Google, whatever it might be. But what I've really been focusing on is how trust is easier to gain, but easier to get, but harder to get back after you lose it, if that makes sense. So, for instance, it's easy to gain somebody's trust by doing the right things. A lot of kids naturally trust their parents or their teachers, but then once somebody breaks that trust, for instance, a story here today at school, we had a substitute teacher. And the substitute teacher was in GCS, and I don't know if they were doing a unit that involved this, or they just happened to come out, or what happened, but basically the substitute teacher said the N-word, and kids obviously reported that, and the substitute teacher got told to leave and to basically never come back to our district again. So naturally, those kids trusted that adult. They broke that trust. Now it's going to be very hard for that adult to gain trust back in any school district because of their reputation that they just created for themselves on a one-time thing. Now, obviously, people make mistakes, but it's very hard to gain that trust once it's lost. Okay, but the difference is that's an experience that has happened, whereas faith, somebody might say that person's a good person, they just made a mistake. They have faith that they want to do the right thing, and they just made a mistake, right? So it's very difficult to lose faith once you've kind of been convicted of that faith, or believe deeply in it. Okay, that's what convicted means, is to deeply believe. So if we have rooted something in faith, the easiest thing to think about is our actual faith or religious involvement. If we believe something, that we're going to act a certain way towards that, or follow the rules, or live our life in accordance to what that faith may be. But trust is the easy one to kind of lose, I guess. Taylor talked about on Tuesday having faith in this kid, that he is deep down wants to be a good kid, wants to do the right thing. He just keeps making silly mistakes over and over and over again. So if he has faith in that kid, he's going to keep on trying. All right, so my question to him, reflecting on it, would be, why does he have such deep faith in him? Like, what's the point of continuing to have it if he doesn't show it to you? So you don't have that trust in him, but you have faith, because faith is a lot stronger than trust might be. So my question is, why would he keep faith in him? Why not, I guess, give up? Or not necessarily even give up, because we've talked about giving up versus moving on. Moving on is being okay with it. Why wouldn't he be okay with having that faith? Is that faith technically gone is another question, or do you just move on? Because I think it has to decrease in order for him to stop caring as much, and then he lets it go. And reflecting in our own lives here about having faith really, I think, is what keeps us going. If we don't have faith, then what's the point of doing our day-to-day activities, right? This goes back to happiness and joy. We might look forward to that cup of coffee in the morning, or having a day off from work, or having a nice day outside to be able to go for a walk. but do we have faith that we're going to wake up and have that cup of coffee? We don't really think about that, you know what I mean? Whereas I think we think about trust a lot more, and I'll jump back to this here in a second. We have a lot more trust because we have it day to day, and we see those things, right? I trust that my fiance and I are going to figure something out. I trust that my coworkers are going to show up to class and do their jobs, and I'm going to do my job, all right? It just makes things flow a little bit easier. And when that doesn't happen, and that's when people start to get fired or start to have a change in their life. Versus the faith, no matter what, people don't show up, something happens, it doesn't matter, it's just a bump in the road and you keep going. So why do we have that for faith but not for trust? What's the difference in that? Even if they've shown it to you, right? So the biggest storyline in my life is there's really two. The number one thing is football, right? So I have been a NFL free agent now for 3 seasons, and then obviously my draft class for 1. Okay, and I said that I was going to stop trying after 3 seasons. But then after my first season, I was okay. I basically got to Kansas City on some luck, and that's another story for another day. But looking back, each year I progressed and got better and better and better. But then something has happened, right? First year was COVID. Second year, I just wasn't, I just missed one kick I shouldn't have had, or didn't have the kickoffs I needed, but another camp I did really well. So I just didn't put the whole package together. This year, I hurt my groin, which is very uncharacteristic of me. So there's always been one little thing to not throw that perfect game or no-hitter. Does that mean I'm not good enough? Absolutely not. Does it mean it's not meant to be? Maybe. But I still have that faith that I'm supposed to keep trying. Otherwise, I would be okay being done, or at least ready to move on. Right? I might be ready for a break, but I don't think I'm ready to move on. So why do I still have that faith? Well, that comes in the discernment of who I'm called to be. And I think having that faith keeps you going towards a direction, again, towards a goal. But I also think it helps you find kind of your purpose or your way. Along that way, I've also figured out some other things in my life, like going back to grad school and having other opportunities as well, or taking my time and moving somewhere that I will be better at kicking for long-term success. Right? So one time I said I'd never buy a football. And I ended up buying myself 2 footballs because I let my pride go, and that I didn't want to say I spent football money because I wasn't in the league and didn't have them for free. Right? So that was just so much pride on my aspect, in my part. So I let my pride go, got down to earth a little bit more, and realized that I'm going to have to do certain things. And then they start to click a little bit more, and then some other problem comes up. But you always keep the faith. It's just a bump in the road, right? So sometimes I think I'm supposed to be that 30-year-old guy that's tried for 10 years, and finally I make it in for a year, right? Sometimes I think it's all about leading up to another story, and sometimes I think it's just 1 year away. So basically, we don't know, right? But we keep the faith. Faith is believing without seeing. So I believe that something will happen, whether it's to be in the NFL or not. I believe something great is going to happen. I'll take it back to my religious faith that God's got me in the palm of his hand, and what am I supposed to do, right? We don't know what we're supposed to do. It's never going to be a black and white thing. But that gray area, you decide where you go. You always have the power to choose, like my mom says. And if you discern that and you have faith in it and you believe that you're going down the right path and you truly aren't just faking it, right, so yourself doesn't see it, I think that it makes a large contribution to you being who you're, I guess, destined or supposed to be. Okay? I don't think that it's going to happen no matter what. I think you have to put the effort in, and I think you have to make those tough decisions, and you have to trust in God's plan, right? Because you do see little steps away, like, hey, this is working for me, this is not working, whether it's workouts, whether it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, whether it's the school you're attending, right? Whether it's your plan for, I guess, your written plan for your life or your goals. Are they reachable or are they out of reach? If they're out of reach, maybe you should bring them back a little bit. If they're too easy, you need to extend it a little bit. If you're not being challenged, then there's a problem. If If you're being too challenged, like you're failing all the time, then it's too far out. Okay, so go one step at a time and have faith that you're going to be in the right spot at the right time. And if it doesn't work out, okay, that's where it's supposed to be. But how did it help you grow in other ways? And then when a new idea is supposed to pop in your head, it will. Right? Life's a total process. Having faith is no different than that, right? The quote of the week was to trust in the process, right? We've seen the process. It's happened. You're in the middle of it. So as it's unfolding, keep that faith, but keep looking at that trust aspect of if you're trusting yourself to do the right thing, and if you aren't, get back on that path, right? I'll talk about the green fidelity line or the GPS signal in some other episodes later on. And I think that is a good indicator if you're going down the right path or not. The other thing that I think about is my bucket list, right? So right now, on Tuesday, I talked about I want to go to all 159 or whatever it is UN countries. That seems outrageous to get to. But I believe that I can make it happen no matter how much money I have because I'm determined to, right? I'm going to will it to happen. So North Carolina in the college basketball championship a couple of days ago, the first half, they willed their way to playing hard. Their coach willed them. They said that on live TV, right? The Hubert or Hobart, whatever his name is, he willed them to play harder, right? I'm going to will myself to get my goals, whatever it takes. I'm going to have faith that I'm going to do them because I'm going to put the effort in, right? So trust in the process and believe in yourself. You got to have faith that you're doing the right thing even when it seems like you're not. North Carolina, the only reason they lost that game, they were definitely not the better team, but they should have won the game just because they played naturally a lot harder. And if they could have kept that up for 40 minutes instead of 30 minutes, they would have won the game by at least 10 points. Right? So sometimes when we get off track, we need to trust in ourselves that we can get back on it. It's just a little slump because you can't peak forever, right? Your body's not going to be feeling great. Your mind's not going to be feeling great. But how can we get back on that train and keep trusting that process in the highs and lows because we have faith? I think faith follows that trust you're having yourself. And once you're convicted of that faith, it's really hard to get off the path and to change somebody's mind. We've also talked about that. Unless there's something drastic that happens, it's very difficult to change somebody's mind. Now, if you change your mind in small decisions, that's going to change your mind in large decisions in the end over time. So that's why you got to be diligent in every decision and go with what your gut thinks. And the process of making those decisions has got to be some sort of discernment towards that goal, which hopefully you have faith in that you're going to reach. So the bucket list, I'm going to go back on that. I'm going to try to reach it no matter what. Okay? Even if it seems crazy, I'm going to try to make it happen. Let me see here. I also think that your faith, so trust is all about relationships, right? That's how we think about losing the trust or gaining the trust. I think that all your life processes, whether it's faith or trust, helps you gain relationships. It helps you to learn, kind of like I said, learns your way or learn about yourself. And learning about yourself, learning about the world, learning about the way others think, learning or gaining relationships, I think those are, even losing relationships sometimes, all those are important and all play a role to the ultimate person that we're supposed to be, right? How often do we really reach our ceiling? How often do we really reach our full potential? Right? We don't. But we can get a heck of a lot closer if we put time and effort into trusting ourselves, finding a circle that we can trust, a small circle that we can trust, but we can't do it by ourselves. And then how can we have faith in something bigger than ourselves, a group of people, and then obviously ourselves in doing the right thing. Okay, if you can do those things on a day-to-day basis and those small decisions, I think trust will be better in your life. I think your relationships will be better in your life. I think your faith will be better in your life. And I think you ultimately will be better off in the end, at the end of your life, and be more satisfied than if you don't have some sort of faith in anything, whether it's religion or not, especially if it's self-esteem, and if you can have good relationships. I think that is the key to trust and faith. And that's going to be the 1440. We're 5 seconds over already, so we'll put the descriptions down below. Thanks for listening to this week's episode, and we'll catch you guys next week. Have a great week. Love you. Bye.